this is Amy and welcome to Become Your Own Favorite Chef. I'm really excited today because it's the beginning of my birthday week and I like to just treat myself a little bit every day during the week of my birthday. Why not? And today I'm treating myself by making my all-time favorite, my risotto. It is the most flavorful thing I've ever had in my life and everyone loves it. Trust me, you're going to want to make this one, so let's get started. Alright, first step, we need bacon grease. And the bacon grease is really important. It really gives the risotto the flavor, the base that it needs. If you're vegetarian, you could supplement bacon grease for some olive oil instead. But if you're not, go all out. So I've got 4 normal strips of bacon in a cold pan. You always want to put the bacon in first and then start the heat so that the bacon cooks evenly and gets as much of the grease out as possible, because the bacon grease, that's what we need. Next, we're going to chop about 4 medium-sized shallots. Shallots are like onions, but slightly milder with a tiny bit of a garlic taste, which means they're amazing. I love shallots. You'll peel them and then chop them right up. And you cover up a shallot just like you would an onion. First step is kind of slice lengthwise a few times and slice this style. Gives you perfect little sized shallot bites. Next, you need to chop a couple tablespoons worth of sun-dried tomatoes. Sun-dried tomatoes are way more flavorful than just regular tomatoes. They have a real depth to them and they're really good at risotto. So when you buy them in a jar, they're usually already pretty chopped up, but you want to chop these very finely. Alright, looks like our bacon's done. It's been cooking with the lid on. Once it's pretty browned, put it on a paper towel. We are going to use this bacon to finish off our risotto at the end. But look at all that glorious bacon grease. Now, if you already keep a mason jar of bacon grease in your fridge, like many of us do, you don't have to buy bacon. You can just add a couple tablespoons of that bacon grease. To the grease, we want to add a couple tablespoons of butter. And one more because it's my birthday week. To our bacon grease and butter, I've just added our shallots and sun-dried tomatoes. And make sure you get all those bacon bits off the bottom of the pan so that your pan's totally deglazed and we can get all that bacony flavor. We're going to let these cook down for a couple minutes while we chop our mushroom. The first time I had risotto, it was a truffle risotto and it was to die for. And after I looked into getting my own truffles, I quickly learned probably not going to afford those for a while. So I got truffle oil instead, which is a component we'll put in later. And I discovered that baby portobellos work as a good substitute. However, if you have your own truffles, please use them. And we need to be friends. When you're cleaning these, do not soak them in water. Mushrooms are like sponges and they'll just soak up tons of excess water and become really mushy. So I've got a wet paper towel here and I'm just wiping away the dirt gently. So I'm chopping these mushrooms pretty coarsely, not too fine, just little bite-sized pieces. If you're not a huge fan of mushrooms, or if you've got kids that don't like the texture of mushrooms, you can always chop these up into little bitty pieces and they won't even know. Alright. I just like mushrooms because they give it a heartier, meatier texture. However, again, this is not my recipe that you must do exactly like I say. It's a suggestion. Make it your own. If you don't like mushrooms, keep them out. Now we'll add our sliced mushrooms. And to that, I also want to add about a tablespoon of garlic. You know me, you gotta have garlic. And once again, if you chop your own garlic, that's great. Alright, tons more flavor. But ain't nobody got time for that. Just buy this stuff. So I'm just going to stir this around, let it cook for a couple minutes right before we add our rice. And the rice is so important for risotto. You need arborio rice. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I'm a Spanish teacher, not an Italian teacher, but arborio rice. This is one of these starchiest rices you can get, and we need a starchy rice to create risotto. If you do this with the long grain rice or something that's not arborio rice, it's not the same. Trust me, I've tried. So once these have cooked for a couple minutes, we're going to add about a cup of this rice. And I want you to let this cook first without adding any liquid so that the rice, each grain of it gets coated in all of that delicious garlicky shallot mushroom bacon grease. What we're going to do next, I've been heating up some chicken stock, and we're going to slowly start to add some stock, and that will release the starches from the rice and create this creamy, amazing texture, and that's what risotto is. Oh my gosh, this smells good. Okay, so it's time to add our chicken broth, which I want to mention. I actually did a taste test with my husband one night between Swanson chicken broth and an off-brand chicken broth, and the Swanson beat it 10-1, no question. So I'm a firm believer now in buying the Swanson chicken broth, please. It'll make a difference in your recipe. They don't lie in the commercials. So what we're going to do is, this is heated up chicken broth. We're going to add a few ladlefuls until it just barely covers everything in our pan. And again, you want to deglaze the pan, scrape off all those tidbits on the bottom. And then leave it alone for a couple minutes. The rice is going to soak up all that beautiful broth, and once it looks like most of the broth is gone, we'll come back and we'll add some more. Alright, you can see how most of the liquid has been soaked into the rice. The rice is getting bigger. We're going to add some more ladlefuls. And we're going to do this for about 20 minutes total until the rice is al dente. One of the final steps is adding a bunch of chopped fresh parsley. If you have dried parsley, it's okay. I've done it with dried parsley before, but I find that fresh parsley really does just give it a lot more flavor, and it's prettier. And who doesn't like pretty food? Gonna add our third serving of chicken broth. Alright, this is looking pretty good. Risotto texture should be where when you put it on a plate it spreads out, but there aren't excess juices. But you also have to make sure the rice is al dente, so give it a taste. The rice needs to have just a little bit of chew without being mushy. This one's still a little too crunchy, so I'm going to add one more round of stock. Then it'll be finished. Alright, I've tasted it again. It's right at al dente. So finishing touches are the really, really, really important part of risotto. You want to add another tablespoon of butter. This will give it a silky look and texture. We want to add all of our bacon again. I already crumbled it. And we're going to add this crumbled bacon that we cooked earlier, so you have a little more protein. We want to add about half a cup of Parmesan. This also gives it a creamier texture. I'm actually not a huge cheese fan, and I eat this without cheese all the time, so you don't have to have cheese in it, especially if you want to keep it healthier, but it really does give it a much richer creaminess and a little more salty, smoky flavor. We'll go ahead and cut off our heat. And then the most important part of the truffle risotto is adding about a tablespoon of truffle oil. This is a finishing oil. It can become bitter if you cook it too long, so that's why you add that at the end with the heat cut off. I'm just going to add a little bit here. Oh my gosh, if you've never smelled truffle oil, it just smells so good. It's so unique. And you can get that at most grocery stores. And finally, we chopped up some parsley earlier. So we're going to add in about a big old handful of fresh parsley. Stir that up. We're ready to eat. Oh man, okay. It's done. As you can see, the perfect texture is when you put it on the plate, it spreads out a little bit, but there's not any excess liquid around the edges. You can always finish this off with some more Parmesan or parsley, but it's gonna be perfect like this. Yeah, it's my birthday week. This is seriously the best thing I've ever had in my life. It's really good. As Phil Robertson might say, I am happy, happy, happy.